Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I guess it depends when you're watching this flipped video lesson. We are going to continue our journey talking about the 13 colonies, a close-up view. Today we're going to look at the colonies of Connecticut and New York. And this is where we're really going to see a huge difference between the New England colonies and the middle colonies. Please remember, this video is to be watched with an academic frame of mind, not for pure entertainment, albeit I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. So with that in mind, find a good spot to sit, get some paper ready and a pencil, and be prepared to take some notes. Speaking of notes, here's an example of an outline you can use as you're watching this video and putting down important facts. You don't have to use a web like this. However, you do need to write down the government, religion, reasons for leaving their native country and going to the colony, economics, geography, and climate of the two colonies we will be talking about. And you can fill in these areas with words or pictures. It's really up to you and whatever works best for you. We're going to start with Connecticut. The colony of Connecticut. It was in the New England region. We are only going to look at 3 New England colonies, and this will be the last one. The geography of Connecticut included forested hills, as you see on this picture over here. Like the previous New England colonies we discussed, there was very poor rocky soil, and it was on the coast. The 3 colonies from New England that we've learned about so far had farms. However, this was not how they made their money. Farms would have been used for sustenance, for just eating. Climate-wise, like the previous colonies, cold winters, mild summers. I would like you to pause the video right now because I want you to take a close look at this chart, looking at the average high and the average low temperature for the whole year. Looking at the precipitation, the amount of rain it got. Also looking at the snowfall. So please pause the video now to look at this chart. The economics, much like the previous colonies, had to do with farming, shipbuilding, fishing, and whaling. Again, we're on the coast, so you're going to be making your money through a lot of various businesses that have to do with the ocean. The Connecticut colony, still we're with it here. The founder, really one of the main founders of the Connecticut colony, was Thomas Hooker. And he started with the Massachusetts Puritans, and he left. Surprise, surprise, another dissatisfied Puritan leaving Massachusetts. So he started his colony of Connecticut in Hartford. In fact, there were some other towns around Hartford that came together to start the Connecticut colony. Oh, we have the bell. There we go. New Haven was another town that was started close by to Connecticut, and it was started by another Puritan group that had left England, and they wanted to start a utopian Christian colony, really founded around the Christian ideals, more than likely around the Christian ideals of sharing with one another, where no one really had one thing. It belonged to the whole group, and making sure everyone followed the example of Jesus' life. They also wanted to create a commercial empire. And this man here, Mr. Davenport, was one of the main founders of New Haven. This gentleman here is Thomas Hooker, and he was one of the main starters of the Hartford part of the Connecticut colony. The religion, again, were Puritans. All right, let's start off now with the government in the Connecticut colony. Now, because for a while at least, there were 2 different groups in the Connecticut colony, there were 2 different forms of government. First off, let's talk about Thomas Hooker and the other leaders in Hartford and the surrounding areas. They helped to create something called the Fundamental Orders. And the Fundamental Orders consisted of a preamble, which was kind of like a covenant. And a covenant is a document where one group says, we're going to do this if you, the other group, do this. They also had 11 laws, and an example of these laws explained how the leaders of this colony would be chosen. It also talked about that they would have secret ballots so that people couldn't see what they were voting for. Also, all members of the Puritan church would be allowed to vote. Of course, these had to be men. In New Haven, with Davenport and the leaders of that area, their laws were more biblically based because, again, they're looking for this colony, if I can go back to this slide, that was more of a utopian idea, the perfect Christian colony. All right, let's go over and talk now about the New York colony, which was in the middle region of the 13 colonies. First off, reasons for leaving to come to the New York colony mainly was farmland. But then we had the Duke of York, who we're going to talk about here in a couple of slides. His goal was to make money. Money, 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 money. Money. The religion. They had various faiths. Economics. Ways they made money was through fur, lumber, shipping, slave trade. You can read through the rest. We had tradesmen. I don't know if you can see this picture here very well. I'm going to make it bigger. Here's some examples of tradesmen. So take a look at that. Tradesmen are people who do a very specific job. The geography of the New York colony was very different depending where you were. First off, if you were down here by the coast, there was wetlands. If you're by the Hudson River, which is right here, wetlands. Again, very wet. If you were away from the river, very mountainy. The Appalachian Mountains went through this area and also through the New England colonies as well. So very mountainous, and through the parts of the southern as well. The northern part, as I said, was mountainous but very forested, as you can kind of see here. The climate was cold and snowy winter, followed by a very hot and humid summer. So pretty similar to what we saw in the New England colonies. Let's talk about the government of the New York colony. And before we can talk about the government, we have to talk about the Duke of York, who was named the proprietor or the owner of the New York colony. And this was after, if you read right here, where the English was able to get the colony from the Dutch. The Duke of York made laws in the New York colony, and he created taxes. I want you to pause the video for a moment. I want you to think about this. Right now, what is one difference between this middle region colony and the New England colonies? All right. Hopefully the movie's unpaused. If you just said one difference is that the other colonies had assemblies, you're correct. This group did not have an assembly. One man made all the laws. Now this was in 1664. Fast forward to 1691, and finally, all other men that weren't rich landowners, or the Duke of York, were able to elect men to become an assembly so they could pass laws and set taxes. Read this right here about Leisler's rebellion. It's very interesting. This gentleman tried to help the poor people of the New York colony in such a way so that they could create an assembly, and for a while it worked, but he made a lot of the rich people unhappy, and he made other people unhappy, and as a result, he faced a gruesome death. Well, this ends right now, this flip lesson. Thank you for watching. Please go to Edmodo where you will find the homework question. I missed it again? This is getting ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm never in the movies.